Malachi, you're back.
Just landed.
Are you alright? What did the doctor say?
Lots of bruising, but there's no permanent damage. Don't fuss.
Malachi, you were in the hospital in Spain for a week. A man who evaluates antiques for a living should not have to worry about getting beaten by thugs.
The chest Senor Perez was trying to sell was a fake. It's hardly my fault he took my evaluation badly.
You need to take security on these jobs. Some of these sellers are dangerous people, and you excel at pushing people's buttons.
I'm honest, and that's precisely why my clients hire me. Is there any urgent business?
I have a few things to fill you in on. Let me know when you've had a chance to settle in.
We should catch up on what's been going on while I was away.
Let's do it.
So what's the next assignment?
You just got here. You probably haven't even been to your penthouse yet.
That wasn't the question.
Fine. There's a supposedly undiscovered Rembrandt in Rome for Sotheby's, and 2 pieces in Egypt for Rutherford's.
Take them both.
Malachi, you just got out of the hospital. You should let your body rest, at least long enough to get used to a time zone.
With the economy in the gutter, there are a lot of desperate people right now. Desperate enough to sell Grandma's Harrington or create a good forgery. I might as well make the money while I can.
You're driving yourself too hard. Your body needs...
What my body needs is no concern of yours.
No. Thanks for reminding me. There was also a new client who called. Something about a government contract.
You said in your email that you've been looking into security options?
I made a list of the reputable security agencies in New York. You should have a bodyguard travel with you. With the money you earn on these assignments, you can afford it.
No, they'd only get in the way and be tiresome. I prefer to travel alone.
Fine. There are other options.
Who is this new client?
Amble Dexter, 452 Central Park West. He wouldn't say what it was about, just that he needed someone with your expertise.
If he wouldn't even say what it's about, then it's not worth my time following up.
Well, it is a very upscale address, but do as you please.
What other options do you have for security?
I've been researching security agencies in various international cities. I can set someone up when you travel, have them meet you at the airport.
I can't trust someone I've just met. How could I be sure they weren't already bought off?
These are reputable agencies. You have to get over your trust issues.
No other brilliant ideas about security?
I have a report on where to buy guns in various countries. It's not a very good option, but it's better than going into a bad situation unarmed. And maybe the mere presence of a gun will remind you not to shoot off your mouth.
Gretchen.
I mean, give your fascinating opinion quite so freely.
All right. Maybe we'll try that next time. That's all for now.
Very well.
I'll take my passport with me. Here's my passport.
Welcome, Mr. Rector. You can go through to Mr. Dexter's office. Use the elevator, sir.
Thank you.
Ah, Mr. Rector. What a pleasure to finally meet you. I've heard about your remarkable talents.
Which I presume you'd like to rent in the near future.
Precisely. Please, come in and sit down. This is Mr. Reichart, my associate.
Mr. Rector?
Hello.
Before we discuss the job that we have in mind, I hope you won't object to a simple exercise.
Oh? I'm afraid I left my performing monkey hat at home.
Please don't take it like that. I think as a historian, you'll find it quite fascinating.
I'll think about it. What is this exercise you mentioned?
Take a look at this man. Tell me if he reminds you of any specific person in history.
I read objects, not people, and this exercise is illogical.
Humor me, please. I've heard you have a photographic memory, and that your knowledge of history is beyond compare. I'm intrigued.
prefer to work on my phone. I'll scan in the man's bio. Is this a joke?
Not at all. What do you see?
His biography reads like that of Raffaello Sanzio d'Urbino, the 15th century painter better known as Raphael.
You do not disappoint, Mr. Rector. Such a pleasure to finally meet you. Truly, I'm delighted.
Wonderful. Now perhaps we can discuss the job you have for me. Do you have a job for me, Mr. Dexter, or not?
I do. The job is in Venice. A young woman of wealth and high birth was murdered there a week ago. Her name was Bianca Cardolo. I'd like you to go to Venice and investigate who she was, and do what you just did so magnificently. See if she reminds you of any historical person. That is all.
I don't investigate deaths. Hire a detective.
We're not looking for her killer, only the facts of her life. A brief biography, if you will. And for you to document any connections you draw to any figure in history. Perhaps there will be none. That's acceptable as well. You get paid 20 to 30,000 for your work for the auction houses. I'll pay you 50. It should take you no more than a week. What say you, Mr. Rector?
I might be interested, but first I want to know why you're keen on this particular woman, and what the point is behind these comparisons to people in history.
I'm afraid any further information is classified at a high security level.
I'll take the job.
Excellent. I know you won't disappoint me, Mr. Rector. Speak to the guard in the lobby. He'll give you your plane tickets. And Godspeed. I very much look forward to hearing your report when you return from Venice. I'll forward the relevant information about Bianca Cardolo to your phone.
Very well. Goodbye.
Pass through the scanner, sir.
Mr. Dexter said you have plane tickets for me?
Yes, sir. Have a good trip, sir.
Thank you. Before I head to Venice, I should make sure I've taken care of any urgent business at Rector Antiques. I've taken a job for that new client, Amble Dexter. I leave for Venice today.
Oh, God. Why am I not surprised? Well, I'll hold down the fort as usual. Good luck.
Thank you. It's a letter from Mr. Barozzi, an antique dealer in Venice. He has a brilliant eye for interesting pieces. He's a little quaint. He insists on sending snail mail. I'd like to see what Barozzi's found. Perhaps I'll be passing through Venice sometime soon. Looks like I've taken care of everything here. I should head to the airport for my trip to Venice. I started a dossier on Bianca Cardolo based on the information Dexter sent me. I should start there.
Come in, Mr. Rector. Please, sit down.
Thank you, Signor Condelo. I'm sorry to intrude at a time like this.
I've been asked to speak with you, and that request came directly from the U.S. Embassy.
Impressive.
What interest does the United States have in my wife's murder? Do you think it was a terrorist act? Why would they want to hurt Bianca?
I don't have the answers, Signore. I'm still investigating.
Very well. I've already been over everything with the police a dozen times, but I'll do what I can to help you.
It would help me to know more about you.
Very well.
Was Bianca your first wife?
See, I worked hard all my life, and I'm not ashamed to say I enjoyed my youth. But a man who wishes to accomplish certain things in life needs a wife. Bianca was everything I needed. She had beauty, style, connections. I doubt I will ever find her equal.
Tell me about your work.
I am consigliere of Venice. I used to practice law, but for now my focus is exclusively on politics. Venice is struggling, as is all of Italy. It will take the best of all of us to save her, if we can.
Tell me about Bianca.
What would you like to know?
Did your wife play piano?
No, she was quite musical, but she preferred dance. She was in a classical dance company before we were wed. As for the piano, Bianca loved to entertain, and music was always a part of such evenings.
How did you meet Bianca?
Bianca's family is one of the most influential in all of Italy. I have known her father for many years. I watched Bianca mature. She was the perfect politician's wife. She loved meeting people and doing philanthropic work. I knew she would make the perfect wife for a man of my ambitions. Fortunately, her father agreed, and I was able to convince her to marry me, even though she was quite young at the time.
How old was Bianca when you married her?
She was 18 and I was 43. But she was very mature for her age. She knew the life she wanted, and I could give it to her. She was happy in our marriage, especially once our son came along.
I realize it is difficult to speak ill of the dead, but Bianca must have had some flaws. No one is perfect.
It is a good thing that I, myself, am a man who often has to say things no one wants to hear, because otherwise I would throw you out of the house for that impudence.
As you say, getting to the truth is not always pleasant.
She was a beautiful young woman. She had some insecurities. Never thought she was good enough, perfect enough. Perhaps I should be grateful for that. If she had been more confident, she might never have married me.
I appreciate your honesty, Signore. Bianca quit dancing after you were married?
Of course. It was hardly appropriate for the wife of a man in my position.
How old was Bianca when she had your son?
It was a year after our marriage. She was 19. Does that have some relevance?
We'll see. I must ask you about Bianca's murder.
If you must.
Do you know who killed Bianca?
No. She was a beautiful and gracious young woman. She had no enemies, nor do I.
Tell me about the night it happened.
Bianca wished to attend a concert. She had a number of musician friends from her student days. I declined to go with her. It was nothing important, and I preferred to get some work done. Now I wish I'd never allowed her to go out alone.
You couldn't possibly have known. It's not your fault.
I'm afraid I must get back to work. In times of fiscal crisis, one is not even allowed the solace of grief. You may stay and look around. I have told the staff that you are free to come and go. You'll find Bianca's bedroom through that door there. And before you ask, the house has plenty of rooms. Bianca liked having her own sanctuary. We were happily married.
I would be the last person to judge such an arrangement. Thank you for your time, Signor Condolo.
Goodbye.
Pronto, Detective Brunetta.
Buongiorno. This is Malachi Rector. I need to speak with you about the death of Bianca Cardolo.
I was told to expect your call. Meet me at 425 alla Due Colonne. That's the site of the murder.
Thank you. I'll see you there. Are you Detective Brunetta?
That is correct. Mr. Rector?
Yes.
I've been told to answer any questions you have about the death of Bianca Cardolo. I can't say I understand why.
Well, I'm glad to know where you stand, Detective. Let's get started, if you don't mind. It's always good to know your source. You won't mind telling me something about yourself?
That depends on what you want to know.
Do you know the Cardolo family personally?
I'm not a part of that high society, even if I have the time to have a social life, which I don't.
You said you were told to answer my questions. Can I ask by whom?
You don't know?
I'm not in the habit of asking questions I know the answer to.
I was told it came from a mayor's office. You were hired by Signore Cardolo, perhaps?
That's really none of your concern.
Very well, Mr. Rector, if that's how you want it.
Tell me about Bianca Cardolo.
She was a popular figure in Venice. Everyone knew her. She was even named the most beautiful woman in the city several years ago. The public wants her killer found, and so do I.
Tell me about Bianca Cardolo's murder.
We know she was followed while walking home from a concert. She ran. The killers caught up with her here where we're standing. They hanged her from this bridge.
Sounds familiar. In fact, I read that much in the papers.
I can't read your mind, Mr. Rector. If you have questions, ask them.
She was walking home from a concert alone?
That's right. She went by herself.
Was she robbed? Molested?
No, Mr. Rector. The postmortem shows no signs of rape. As for robbery, her purse fell into the canal and we retrieved it. Nothing was taken from it. Her jewelry was also left untouched, including a diamond ring worth more than I make in a month.
Were there any witnesses?
None. We checked every residence in the area. No one admitted to seeing anything.
Tell me about the Cardolo family.
I have the feeling you know better than
I
I.
really don't.
She comes from a very distinguished Venetian family, and her husband, Dante Cardolo, is an important man in local politics. They're above reproach, and also innocent, in my opinion.
Do you have any leads on the killers?
No, we found no physical evidence, nothing.
Those are all the questions I have, Detective.
Good. Arrivederci, Mr. Rector.
Arrivederci.